Have you noticed it feels like everyone is constantly sick, especially lately here in the early part of 2026? People are sick, they're dealing with fatigue, inflammation, or just fighting something off. It just seems like it never ends with a lot of people that I know. And today on Finding Freedom, we're going to look at this is actually bigger than just the people I know. This is a real trend happening across the world. And we'll be breaking down today why it isn't random, what data is telling us, and how the modern life and modern stressors are quietly overwhelming our immune systems. Hey, what's up? What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Finding Freedom here on the Lions of Liberty podcast network. Having trouble getting the words out today, getting started, but things will get better from here. It is the first Monday in February. Today will be a very short show. I don't have a lot of time, but I want to talk about something. Number one, that I think could help people right now today. Number two, something that I know something about. And number three, something I like talking about. So we're going to talk about health, specifically your immune system, your immune health, and really the trend now today. People are sicker than ever, and we're going to look into really why that is. Before we do that, I'm going to talk about Fox and Sons coffee right here. I got my coffee mug, still drinking out of a Christmas Penn State Nittany Lions mug here, my favorite coffee mug of all time, probably. But we're talking about Fox and Sons coffee, what I drink every single morning. Of course, Fox and Sons is owned by Stephen Fox. He's a fellow entrepreneur. He's a guy who started this company, who started selling coffee to teach his sons about entrepreneurship. So go pick up some Fox and Sons coffee. That's FOXNO. I just spelled it wrong. FOXNSONS.com. Use promo code John at checkout, JOHN, for 15% off an order of $40 or more. Okay, it can only go up from here with the show. Things can only get better. But shifting for a moment to a solemn note, the reason why I don't have a lot of time today is because we'll be traveling for a funeral here. My wife's grandmother passed away a few days ago, 96 years old. I'd say traveling. It's an hour-long drive. It's not like we're getting in a plane or anything. But yeah, that happened last week. And 96, fantastic life, just a fantastic lady. Um, great, great attitude on life, great outlook on life, and really enjoyed the time that I got to spend with her um, over the years. And our daughter's 10 years old, and she has spent probably more time than I would guess 99% of 10-year-olds in nursing homes with Nicole's but both of Nicole's grandmothers spent significant time in nursing homes before they died. And Ruby, um, she's just so good and gifted and empathetic, and caring, and dealing with not only her great grandmothers, but with everyone in the nursing home. And she'll walk in there and everybody would know her. And um, when we called her Gigi. When Gigi passed away last week, um, we got word passed on that the time was probably drawing near, and we drove up there. And a lot of people, I think, maybe have their kids steer their kids away from being in nursing homes or being so close to death. I think that it's important for our kids and children, um, to see that because that's what happens. That's what happens in life. This life does not go on forever, and we're all going to encounter death. And when you die, the soul leaves the body. The soul's absent from the body, but you're present with the Lord. And I think it's important for kids to see that. And I don't think a lot of kids do have any experiences like that. So just something I've been thinking about recently. But anyway, that's the reason for the short show today. If you're somebody who prays, would appreciate prayers, especially praying for people, for family and friends of Gigi, praying for peace, of course, and God's love to surround everybody, but really just praying that, those who do not know the Lord, those who do not have a personal relationship with our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, that this funeral, these services would draw them near and would bring them into relationship. So if you're a praying person, I would appreciate those prayers, and I know my wife Nicole would as well. But getting into what I want to talk about today, and I've already talked for about 6 minutes, trying to keep this show to about 15, 20 minutes, but I want to talk about sickness, people being sick. And I just have noticed recently with family, friends, extended, people from all over the place, people in social media that I don't know, but you just kind of interact with them virtually. Almost everybody has been sick. I've been able to avoid it, and of course, doing this show today, I'm sure I'll get sick tomorrow. I hope not, but it's been bad, and I started looking into some of the data around it, and sure enough, that flu-like illnesses have reached the highest level in the U.S. in 25 years. This is CDC data, and I assume this would include the times during COVID, because COVID was a flu-like illness. Maybe they're not counting that in, but regardless, um, yeah, that's a pretty big deal that this time right now, we are at the highest level for illnesses, flu-like illnesses in the past 25 years. And you would think over time when we have all these different, you know, pharmaceuticals that people use, and there's all these different tests to detect, and there's, people wearing masks and da 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 da. You would think, well, not I wouldn't think that, and you wouldn't think that, but people in the scientific and medical community would think, well, things should be lowering, right? People are taking precautions. Um, people, and I don't think masking does anything, but the thought process from people on the left and people in the medical community, for the most part, I believe, is that at least, masks do something. They at least reduce it by like 1%, right? So why not wear a mask? That's their mentality. Um, I think it might actually be detrimental. I think it might have the opposite effect wearing a mask, but that's just my wild speculation there. But this data is not wild speculation. And the other thing that I was looking into, because obviously in this time right now in this country, everybody's so spun up, with everything happening in Minneapolis with ICE and um, the protests and interfering with government operations and tragic murders, and people are just really, really strung up right now. And looking even over, I looked up some data from Gallup where they've done like polling over what's it, the past, I guess from 2006 till now. And I'll post links to this in the show notes page. But global trends in daily negative experiences, every single one of these has trended up over the past roughly 20 years here. Anger, sadness, stress, worry, and physical pain. Every one of them has trended up, some quite significantly. And then the other piece of it is, so positive experiences. What, when you, I mean, because obviously negative experiences trending up, not a good thing. Positive experiences, it's not that they're trending down necessarily, it's that they're just flat, just like no more positive experience has been added, which is good. And what they're tracking here is just general enjoyment. So what they asked was, did you experience the following feelings during a lot of the day yesterday? And then the same thing for the negative experiences. Did you experience these for a lot of the day? So it's not exact science, but with polling you can measure trends better over a long period of time when you're doing things like that. And Gallup is the best at doing it. So things have stayed flat: enjoyment, being well rested, smiling or laughing, respect, feeling respected, learning something. I thought it was really interesting. You would think so. Learning something is a positive experience for sure, because it builds your confidence, makes you feel better, makes you feel accomplished, that like you did something. You look back 2006, 44%. And it kind of stays there, gets up to 50, 51 in the mid, like 2014 to 15, 16. Then it just kind of stays there. Now it's at 52%. How is that possible with the internet, with having so much information at our fingertips? I learn something almost every hour. Like, how are you not learning something significantly throughout the course of a day? Like, I don't get that unless I'm not understanding what they're trying to get at here. But anyway, I don't want to dwell on that point. So, point being that there's a lot of contributing factors here, right? So the immune system, it doesn't exist in isolation. It's impacted by external forces. Your immune system is downstream from sleep, nutrition, stress, gut health, movement. And something that's always kind of annoyed me is people talk about catching a cold, or so and so gave me, the flu. I can't stand that, because I think that's incorrect. I think that's the incorrect way to look at it. You don't catch something, or people say, I got sick from my kids. Um, that's I think that's kind of a cop out. So plenty of people interacted with and were around those same sick people and did not get sick. What's the reason for that? If it's if it's as simple as that Sally at work has a cough in the cubicle next to you, and then you get sick, so you blame Sally at work, but Steve, Bill, and Janice on the other cubicles, they didn't get sick. So it's not just, yeah, of course. I mean, people could debate, if viruses are real and things like that. That's not a rabbit hole. I've gone down that rabbit hole a little bit, but that's not one that I live in. Um, so the germs are out there, right? Can affect anybody. Has more to do with you, what's happening with you, than what's happening with someone else. So that's always kind of bothered me a little bit. So you don't catch something, you drift into it, and your behaviors take you into it, not somebody else acting on you. That's kind of that, victim mentality, like, oh, this happened to me. This happened to me. No, it didn't. You caused it to happen for the most part. For the most part. Some things genetically, not going to get into today, but predispose you to have a worse immune system. All right, sip of coffee. There's also research out there. So from Nature Reviews, Immunology shows that chronic stress and poor sleep suppress immune response, which is, I mean, it's not breaking news there, and they increase the infection the susceptibility to become infected. And Americans now are more sleep deprived than ever. They move less, they're more sedentary than ever, and they're eating more processed foods than ever before. So there's all of these things contributing to it. On top of that, our food is the worst quality ever, more nutrient depleted than ever before. So even if you're eating healthy, even if you're eating your fruits and vegetables, and you're eating, good high quality steaks and eggs and cheese and yogurt and whatever, you're getting, probiotics in your food, you're getting vitamins, nutrients in your food. Even if you're doing all of that, number one, you're still dealing with all the worldly toxins that we that we walk in and out of on a daily basis, but also the food itself doesn't have the same nutrient profile as it had 10, 15, 20, 30 years ago. So an apple from today compared to an apple 30 years ago does not have the same amount of nutrition. It's much more nutrient depleted because the soil has become depleted of nutrients because of the way that our food is farmed, our food is grown, is produced. So all of these things come together to kind of create this perfect scenario of our immune systems just being totally under attack. And the one thing, or one of the things, not the one thing, one of the things that I focus a lot on is my own gut health. And if you follow me on any social media, I talk a lot about gut health, and it's been a huge factor in turning around my health and losing weight and um, getting rid of brain fog, all of these different things. What a lot of people don't know is that 70% of your immune cells are in your gut. 70%. Okay. So if you're already having other gut issues, if you're having bloating, if you're having IBS, if you're dealing with acid reflux, if you're dealing with food allergies or food sensitivities or anything like that, then that's a signal that you have a compromised immune system. And if you don't treat the root of the issue first, if you don't address the gut health and you're trying to address it just with, for example, if you get really sick and you need a antibiotic, of course, sometimes you need antibiotics. I got an infection in my leg a couple years ago, right after I lost health insurance, got laid off, of course. I had to take antibiotics. I had to because it was an infection. It would have spread. Who knows? I could have died. So sometimes you have to take antibiotics, right? I'm not anti-antibiotics, anti-antibiotics. Um, but you have to understand, what does an antibiotic mean? Um, it's killing all of the microbes in your gut, good and bad. It's indiscriminate, right? It's just like a bombing your gut to get rid of the infection, to get rid of what it needs to, right? But if you don't build that back up, it doesn't. I mean, it takes years to build up on its own if you're not actively doing things, probiotics, prebiotics, eating, intentionally eating foods, getting enough sleep, um, all of these different things. If you're not doing that, things can kind of snowball. Things can just build and get totally out of control. And then before you know it, you end up with an autoimmune disease and you trace it back. Oh, okay. That's what happened when I did 2 cycles of antibiotics and I was really sick back in whatever. Um, so yeah, I mean, gut health is a big piece. And then another big piece that people deal with today, chronic inflammation. And I used to deal with chronic inflammation and didn't know it. I just thought it was just getting old. Um, and a lot of the things that lead to chronic inflammation, I mean, it's just how people live their life today. So constantly under stress, blood sugar swings. I mean, when I say blood sugar swings, I'm not talking about being pre-diabetic or diabetic. I'm talking about when you eat a meal, an hour later, you feel like you need to fall asleep. Just feeling fatigued all the time, not having constant, regular energy throughout the day, which is what you're supposed to have. I didn't know that. I thought just getting old was just you felt like crap all day. So doing things, there's plenty of things you can do to help with blood sugar. I take a supplement every day to help keep my blood sugar balanced every single day. Um, Poor recovery. You're not giving your body time to recover. Can lead to inflammation. If you're working out hard, you're not getting enough rest, not getting enough sleep, not staying hydrated. That can have a detrimental effect. The environmental toxins that you're taking on, or mold in your house, or I mean, there are so many toxins that we deal with in the clothes that we wear, to the fragrances that are around, to cleaning chemicals, to it's insanity the amount of toxins we have and how disrupted our hormones are. And yeah, that can definitely cause inflammation. Lack of movement. Movement is one of the best ways to balance your blood sugar. If you eat a meal and you just go for a short 5-minute walk, or if you do 15, 20 push ups, or if you get on your walking pad and you walk, I mean, you don't have to do like crazy things. That if you just do that after you eat, it helps to balance your blood sugar out. And that will lower inflammation. And I mean, there's a lot of new research around that really what causes people to have heart attacks and strokes is not cholesterol, is not that's not really the root cause. It's inflammation damaging the the blood vessels, damaging the arteries over time of being constantly inflamed. A lot of times, driven by blood sugar and stress and not getting enough sleep and all these different things. So it's interesting how our medical system is so great. Is great at acute care, trauma, infections, things like that. If you're having a heart attack, it's amazing what they can do today. Go in there precisely, put it in a stent to expand it back up. It's crazy though that the medical system cannot really doesn't have it has a hard time dealing with things that are system based. So things struggles that appear over time caused by like the things I like all the things I've been talking about: poor diet, stress, lack of recovery time, poor sleep, lack of movement. So all these like a bad system. Our medical system, our healthcare system doesn't like have a good way to fix that. It's not built into it. Now I think what will happen is, and what is happening is that fix is going to come from outside. That fix is going to come from uh, you know the disruptor space from entrepreneurs. And I keep seeing this ad on my Facebook for the I forget what it's called. It's a blood test. You take it's a way to get a profile of how all of your markers. And it's just a little thing. You just push it into your arm. Apparently, you don't even feel it. Takes your blood. You drop it in an envelope. You mail it out, and you get all your markers back. And you can get that done every single month and track yourself. That's more so that, and of course with Apple watches and everything, that more so is how this issue is going to be addressed. The medical system is just it's not built to address it that way. And it's going to collapse, to be perfectly honest. But anyway, um so what helps? I mean, I think one thing, like I just talked about, understanding your own body is number one. So no two people are exactly the same and are going to need the same, prescription of behavioral changes or movement changes or whatever. I think everybody is a little bit different, which is why I'm not a big fan of like um, hardcore elimination diets, like carnivore diet, um, or being vegan. I think that definitely can work great for certain people, because they're kind of just their body's just built that way to run on that. I think most people probably aren't. Um, I think in the short term, almost anything in the short term, I think it's good to shock your body some. I just don't have any desire to ever do a vegan short term thing. Um, but I think that long term, some of those things, even like the keto diet, I think long term can be detrimental, and it's very hard to maintain. But that's kind of getting off base here. So, I mean, the ways to fix this, the ways to address it, um, get more sleep, move every single day. And one thing that I really focus on, the people that I work with, the people that I kind of help out, is when it comes to movement, it doesn't have to be running 5 miles. It doesn't have to be going to the gym and lifting weights every day. Sure, if you're a runner, you want to work in a couple runs a week. If you're trying to build muscle, yeah, you want to work and go into the gym at least 3 days a week. But those other days, there's plenty of other things you can do. I had the podcast a few weeks ago talking about the lymphatic flows. I'm really into working in just push ups and abs. 10-minute session, 100 push-ups, getting abs in. I feel like things like that, if you can do that almost every single day, that's gonna change the way you feel so quickly. You'll feel it if you do 100 push-ups. Well, okay, wherever you are in regards to your own strength. For a lot of people, maybe doing 15 or 20 push-ups is a lot, but whatever that amount is. So if you did that every day and slowly build yourself up for 2 weeks, you will feel different, like a different person in two. You'll walk differently. Your posture will be different in 2 weeks if you're doing push-ups properly. Because a push-up is like almost it's not a full body workout, but you're working everything from your core to your chest to your triceps to your shoulders. It's just a great exercise. I'm really into push-ups right now. um, so intentional movement every day, getting real food. And I do think some foods, if you can, you want to get organic. Um, especially ones where you're going to be eating the skin. Sure, you can wash it off, but can can you really get rid of it? I've seen different things where what my wife and I normally do is put it in. If you get like grapes or something or whatever, put them in a mixture of water and apple cider vinegar. I've seen baking soda as well can work for taking pesticides off. I don't know. Um, do your own research. And then the other thing after real food is you got to support yourself with supplements. I'm a huge proponent for supplements. I think that this kind of goes back to everybody being different. I don't think everybody needs to be on the exact same supplement regimen. I think people are different based on what they need. But the word supplement, it's supplemental. It's filling gaps. It's not meant to be an end all be all. Like take these supplements and you don't need to eat right or whatever. Everything pieces together, and where you have issues, where you have deficiencies, you supplement to fill those gaps. So I'm huge on that. And over the past 7-8 years, I've helped a ton of people to determine exactly when they determine what their goals are, where they want to be, maybe what health concerns they currently have, helping them to come up with a supplement protocol to meet their goals. And it's one of my favorite things to do. So, if you're interested in that, you can always reach out to me, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, at John Odermatt. But yeah, and also I will say this, I'll put this on the show notes page. I did just start a newsletter where I'm trying to write once a week. I'm focusing on health, focusing on investing, focusing on real estate, and I will drop some of my podcast stuff in there. Probably not every week, maybe once a month. If a podcast really relates, I'll probably talk about this one, maybe. But it's really not about promoting the podcast. It's about I'm just trying to. I want to be around people who think like me and who want to either maybe you don't want to be an entrepreneur, but you want to create. You're at least open to exploring, creating additional income streams. That you're at least open to exploring, and you're curious about health. That you're curious about investing. That maybe you're interested in real estate, and maybe you don't like all those things. So you don't have to read every email, but I just needed an outlet where I can talk about these things that I spend the majority of my day working on and learning about. And if I can pass on some things that I know to you all, that's being useful, right? And that's what we're supposed to do. So that's what I'm trying to do with the newsletter. I will link to it on the show notes page at lionsofliberty.com, or wherever you're listening to this on your podcast device, you can find it there as well. The other big things we talked about earlier, emotions ties into this big time. Stress reduction, replacing stress, replacing worry, replacing all of these different things. And I think faith comes into this, and a big part of it, because I think the worry and the anxiety and uncertainty of the world today stresses a lot of people out. But I think having faith, and myself as a Christian, that I know that this world is not the end all be all. And I know we're not going to get it right. Okay. I mean, we are flawed people. We are sinful people. We are broken people that we're not going to get it right here in this world. So I know that. And I know where my faith is. And I know at the end of the day where I'm going. And I think that's a big piece of it. I'm not going to put pressure on people to, about their faith, but I think it's important at least to it's important to consider that. I think it's important to I know it's important for me, and I think it is important for everybody. But my point being, I'm not gonna drill that into your brain. I think that's something that you have to come to terms with on your own. So for me, and whoops, I want to make sure I didn't miss anything. For me, health is more being proactive than reactive. Being healthy is being accountable and not being a victim. So if you find yourself saying, so and so got me sick, or blah, 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 I spent the weekend drinking and I got sick. Well, at least at that point, you're pointing to your own behaviors. So that's being accountable, I guess. But it's not what other people are doing. It's not other people being sick getting you sick. It's your behaviors, your actions, the decisions you're making that are putting your body in a state that you've depleted your immune system and you've made yourself susceptible to illness. And nobody can avoid sickness all the time. We're all going to get sick. The end of the day, it's about when you do get sick, about it being as quick as possible. And there's things I do that. As soon as I start feeling sick, I start taking vitamin D, I start taking zinc, I start taking quercetin. I have an immune support supplement I take, and I up all of my most of my other supplements I take. I up my probiotic. Um, I up my magnesium that I take. Everything goes up while I'm still feeling the symptoms, or if I do get sick while I'm still sick, um, until it ends. And I make sure to stay hydrated. Hydration with electrolytes also extremely important. And you got to get sleep, right? You got to get sleep. You got to eat good food. All those things are important. Okay. So it's not. I think one of the. I think when we look at this, like kind of zoom back out to the macro level, it's crazy to think that in this advanced world that we live in, all of the perks and the different things we have, you can see a doctor just by going on your computer and doing a virtual doctor's visit, whatever. I mean, there's the barriers are gone. Doctors used to have to travel out to your house, right, and do house calls. Things have gotten so much more fluid and so much more flexible, and with the internet, there's so much more research available and different opinions on things. Yet today, people are sicker than ever. So it doesn't make sense, but it does make sense when you look at all of the contributing factors I talked about today. And I think one of the biggest ones is people are just not emotionally well. People are stressed, they're angry, they're fed up, they're not getting enough sleep, and it's destroying them from the inside out. So make sure, I would say, to laugh today. Tell a joke. Don't take yourself so seriously. Have some fun. Enjoy the week, guys. I'll be back next week with another great interview. In the meantime, always remember to keep your head up and those fires of liberty burning.